Have you ever been in a relationship with a man that treated you like a goddess in the beginning? I mean, like he would literally kiss the ground that you walk on. But then, at some point in the relationship, he started treating you like a nigga that owes him money? Well, I have, and I want to talk about it. Hello. Hi. Welcome or welcome back to the Authentically Attuned podcast. I am your host. My name is Esther. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about how DL men's insecurity affects relationships. So, before I begin, I just want to apologize for how long it's been since I've posted a video. This is actually because I am currently working on a book. It's going to be about DL men, all about DL men and everything I've learned in my experience with them. It's going to be coming out very soon, but I don't want to say too much because the haters are watching.
I'm telling you now, I have plans that I cannot share with you right now because the haters will sabotage me. I have plans that I cannot share with you right now because the haters will sabotage me. I have plans that I will not share right now because the haters will sabotage me.
So anyways, let's get started. When I first met my ex, I knew he was insecure, but I didn't know why that could be a problem. I honestly felt like I could help him become more confident. I've always been told by women growing up, like women around me, that you should marry or be with a man who loves you more than you love him. And I've been told that that's basically the only way a relationship is going to last. I honestly thought it was kind of sweet or like cute that he was, even though he came off kind of confident, I could sense that he was insecure and that he was nervous. And I thought that was a good thing. But right before I actually started talking to my ex, I had began to see certain things online, and the content creators I was listening to at the time would say things like how it's dangerous, and they would warn against dating men who are insecure. And they would say that the reason this is dangerous is because these men will end up hating you and resenting you for loving them. At the time, it made absolutely no sense to me how that could be possible. I felt like insecure men were pretty harmless. I just didn't get it. So I decided to follow through with the relationship anyways, even though I could sense his insecurity. But now, since going through it and experiencing it myself, I actually do fully understand why this is not ideal, why the goal should be to find a confident man who loves you just as much as you love him. And it's still hard for me to explain because it honestly doesn't make sense, and you'll see why soon. But I think it's important for me to talk about this because I feel like if there is a woman or a man out there who is at the crossroads that I was at right before I decided to continue seeing my ex, then I hope that this video can help you make a better decision than the one that I made. I hope that this video can help you make an informed decision. For the first 7 to 8 months of our relationship, he treated me like a princess. I honestly thought this was because my pops severely.
Bitch, why you mad? Cause my pussy pops severely and yours don't?
But no, it turns out that this was simply the idealization stage. And I'm going to talk about what that is in a minute. I realized that DL men will idealize any woman that they find attractive and who is kind to them. This is because most women, including their own mothers and the women in their families, are usually not kind to men like them, or truly men in general. But that's a whole nother video. And I actually have a whole chapter in my book that's coming out all about the type of women that DL men tend to date and why they choose these types of women. Basically, DL men have no idea how to connect with women, so they praise and idealize women who make the connection easy for them. And let me tell you, that was me. I definitely, although he did the initial like approaching and engaging in conversation, he DM'd me. That's actually how we began talking. But we knew of each other before because we grew up in the same church. Well, I didn't grow up in that church. He grew up in the church. My family attended that church for a few years, and we used to see each other at church, but never once did he speak to me at church. I never spoke to him either. But he randomly DM'd me, and he actually DM'd me multiple times, because the first time he sent me a DM, I actually didn't see his message because I wasn't following him back. And so he DM'd me a second time, and I just happened to see his request, his message request, and that's when I realized I wasn't following him. So I followed him back and replied to his DM, but I thought that was a good sign that he was willing at least to put himself out there in that way multiple times and not assuming the worst of me. But anyways, that ties into my whole thing about how I thought Insecurity was cute, and I thought his efforts to come off as confident was, yeah, adorable. I found that attractive for some reason. And I know the reason now, but we're not going to talk about that in this episode. But what happens is when they idealize you, they basically put you above themselves, as in they see you as better than them. I'm going to actually look up the definition of idealization. I was just going to give my definition of it, but I actually want to read the official definition for the word. So the official definition for idealization is the action of regarding or representing something or someone as perfect or better than in reality. So this basically means that in the beginning of the relationship, usually men like this will look at you as out of his league or unreal, like you are not human. Basically, you're perfect. In the past, I would not have been able to see why this is a negative thing, but now I truly understand that this is a sign of mental instability, because seeing someone as perfect and not human is literally in real time. This means that the person who's seeing you this way is projecting so many expectations onto you already, like from the jump immediately. And usually these expectations come from intense unmet needs within them. So just keep that in mind as we continue. The problem usually begins when you start showing him that you are not this perfect human. You could show him this in many ways. You could show him this by like experiencing your own flaws, your own traumas, outbursts, anger, whatever it is. Or it could be something simply as when he upsets you, or if he does something that hurts you, just simply calling that out, bringing that up, confronting him with that information can trigger this devaluation, I think is how you pronounce it, stage. So devaluation is basically, or is it, I think it's devaluation. Guys, I am so sorry if I'm not saying this word correctly, but it's basically the process of them devaluing you. It's on the opposite end of the spectrum of idealization. So they saw you as this perfect human and they put you on a pedestal, and now that you obviously are not, and they see that you have flaws, they now see you on the complete opposite of the spectrum, and they are now beginning to not see the same value they saw in you before. And I believe this has a lot to do with the fact that once you start getting upset with them or showing, I don't know what the proper word would be, but showing distaste or showing like you're not pleased with all of their behaviors, this triggers insecurity. This triggers that insecurity that we were talking about earlier that, I sensed immediately. It gets triggered when you show him that you see his flaws and that you're not this like perfect person that's just going to ignore that or act the exact same way all the time, regardless of how he behaves. This was such a roller coaster to experience. Like I said, this started happening about 7-8 months into our relationship. I think it was like 7 months in, we had our first fight. And after that, the roller coaster began. We'd have moments when he's happy with me, he treats me like a princess. When he's upset with me, he treats me like trash. And he wants nothing to do with me and like is threatening to leave the relationship, things like that. And it was very confusing to me. And my immediate thought was like, immediately I knew that this was not healthy, that he was using the threat of leaving the relationship as a way to silence me. I didn't start feeling the impact of this until about 2 years into the relationship. But when I'm honest with myself now, I realize I did see immediately that that's what he was doing. I just didn't see it as a bad thing or a toxic thing because he also treated me very well most of the time. And at the time, I wasn't aware enough of my behaviors yet to see that what was triggering this was me confronting him about his negative behaviors. Because if I would talk to him about anything else, my trauma, my family, or that if I'm upset with someone else and I talk to him about it, he was always supportive, comforting me, engaging in conversation for as long as I needed to vent or whatever. But if it was about him, this is when we would have the most horrific fights and blowouts. What made it even crazier to me was that I started noticing that he started to become more what I thought at the time was confident, but I know now is arrogant. He was starting to feel a lot more strong in his faith, and I noticed a difference in the way that he would speak to me in general, like just in more like controlling, I guess. He started to become a lot more controlling. Yeah, I saw he became a lot more arrogant and bold, and it got to the point where one day we were sitting in his car talking and smoking like we usually do, and he mentioned that it would not be impossible for him to basically be the second coming of Jesus.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And this is a very condensed version of what he said, but yeah, that was a discussion that we had. And this is like shortly before we broke up, maybe like 6 or 8 months before we broke up. I remember sitting in that car, and that was the moment, because we had been going through a lot before that, and I've seen him up and down all the time. And I thought, okay, maybe he just has anger issue. But at that moment in the car when he said that, I was like, yeah, he's probably like bipolar or something, and this is a manic episode. Because I'm not sure how you can go from, the night before screaming at me, calling me all types of crazy names, and, just in general being very disgusting in his like anger and his behavior towards me. And then the next day be telling me that you feel like you could be the second coming of Jesus. I was confused.
You're not ashamed of yourself. Are you not embarrassed?
This is something that ever since I broke up with him, I just can't forget. And I've been thinking about it, and I've been trying to find answers, researching. And I had a conversation with my brother, and I told him, because he already knew about this, but I was talking to him about it again. And I was just kind of like, I just don't understand how just being with me could make him feel so arrogant that he would even think or say something like that. Like, how does that compute? And my brother he was just like, love don't cost a thing. So he was reminding me about that movie with Nick Cannon and Christina Milian, Love Don't Cost a Thing.
Why would you want people to think that I'm your girl?
It'll make me popular.
In that moment, something clicked. I didn't fully get it yet, but it gave me a starting place. So then, yeah, I started looking into what makes insecure men become arrogant after, getting the girl. And that's when I got into the idealization, devaluation conversation. So the two questions that I had that I want to answer for you in this episode, in case you have them too, is number one, why insecure men may end up hating you for loving them. And number two, how is it possible for them to hate you, but then simultaneously feel a boost of confidence while being with you? So how can they hate you, but yet feel like the king of the world because they're with you? I'm going to try to answer both of these questions in this episode. So I hope you guys are prepared for a long one. I'm already at like 23 minutes and I haven't even gotten into the nitty-gritty. So sit back, relax, and get ready to hear me yap. Okay, so the first question that we are going to answer is, why do insecure men end up hating you and resenting you because you love them? The number one reason for this is because of their own self-worth. You loving them triggers how they feel about themselves. They don't truly feel worthy. And this is something I've heard a lot too. And I know I say this a lot. I might make a whole nother separate episode about this because yes, men actually do feel that. Like, they know whether they are worthy of you or not. So you loving them despite them not feeling worthy is equivalent to someone getting a consolation prize at, a track meet or something. I don't know if that's even what they do at track meet. I was just trying to think of an activity that actually gives out consolation prizes. I don't know if they do. But anyways, I hope you get the point. Like, it's like you're giving them a cookie even though they failed the test. You're feeling pity for them. You are like doing charity by loving them. That's my opinion. I feel like this is how it's framed in their brain. This is just what I see. I believe that in order to make themselves feel better, this is why the devaluation, I'm sorry, this word is going to kick my for the rest of this episode, but I'm going to keep going. This is why that stage happens. Like I said before, once you start bringing things up to them that you don't like about their behaviors or things that you would like to change, things that they've done that hurt you, this brings up the reality of how they feel about their self-worth, the reality of how they feel about whether or not they deserve you. And instead of facing those feelings and looking at them for what they are, possibly, accepting some truth and making changes, they are going to talk down on you. They're going to gaslight you. They're going to verbally attack you, and they might even physically attack you because that makes them feel in control again. This is what toxic men mean when they say like to put someone in their place, because something you did or said makes them feel like you feel at the very least that you are above them. So now they need to do something to make you and themselves feel like you are beneath them again. What they're trying to avoid is, I would say, being exposed as toxic or unworthy, but in reality, like, they can't control that. Like, you will see it no matter what. I think what they are trying to avoid is accepting it themselves. Like, they're trying to avoid being put into a corner or a place where they have to accept certain realities about themselves. So they're going to fight. They're going to fight their way out of that corner because they do not want to be put in that corner. Nobody puts baby in a corner, okay?
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
I actually did not go back and rewatch Love Don't Cost a Thing. I haven't had time, and I really wanted to get this episode out after my brother brought that movie up to me and I started connecting the dots. But if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. And it is a movie with Nick Cannon and Christina Milian, where Nick Cannon is like a geek, kind of like, not popular man, boy, whatever, in high school. So Christina Milian's character is the popular girl in school. And for some reason, I don't know if she was dared, I can't remember, but there's some situation that happens where she now takes him on as a project, basically, to turn him from being like a loser to basically being popular. And she does this, makes him cool or whatever, and now he's popular, getting attention from the girls. He's neglecting his geeky friends and his geeky responsibilities and stuff, and he just in general starts acting like an asshole.
Al, I need to talk to you.
Don't you see grown men are talking here? Huh? Anyway, saying, Ohio players.
Al, we need to talk.
What's up with all this wee stuff? This ain't French class. Ain't no wee. Free agent now.
That was cruel.
Sometimes you gotta be cruel to be kind.
Now, I can't remember how it ends, and I'm obviously not going to spoil it for you guys, but basically that's the part that is important, and that's the part that connects here, is this switch, this completely different person that they become with just like a hint of attention. Like I said, when he first meets you, he puts you on a pedestal. He sees you as this perfect archetype of a woman, whatever his perfect archetype is. But the reason why this is a problem is because in his mind, when he's idealizing you, he sees you as, oh, she's amazing, she's out of my league. But then at the same time, they are devaluing themselves. This is literally what insecurity is. What's happening in the moment is, yes, he's putting you on a pedestal, but at the very same time, he is seeing himself as nothing. So his thoughts could be like, I'm nothing compared to her. I'm not worthy of her. Because of this, there is like a cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is basically you believing two opposing thoughts at the same time. So this is usually why someone's actions would contradict what they actually believe. It's because in their mind, they have two opposing thoughts that they believe simultaneously. In the DL man's mind, or in the insecure man's mind, whatever you want to call him, when you show him affection and attention, there are two thoughts going on in his head. Or there's two options that he could choose to think in that moment. Option A, which would be the healthy option, would be, if someone like her loves me, maybe I am lovable. I should work on myself. Like, they would hear what you're saying when you confront them with things that have hurt you or whatever, and things about their behavior that you feel like could improve. They would hear that, and they would then feel like your love is encouragement and an inspiration for them to do better. And so option B, which is the option most insecure and DL men choose, is to be defensive. His thoughts might be something like, if someone like her loves me, then maybe she's not as great as I thought she is. Or maybe I'm secretly superior, because if she's actually as great as I think she is, and she still loves me despite all my flaws, why would I need to change? I'm obviously perfect. This is the option I feel like my ex chose every single time. So even if he was thinking option A as well in his head, his behaviors matched the mindset of option B, the defensive one. And it just kept growing and growing and getting worse. Because it started off as, if someone like her loves me, then maybe she's not as great as I thought. So I believe that's why in moments when he was upset with me, or in moments when I showed him that I didn't like something about his behavior, he would instantly start treating me like shit, essentially, because I think he started thinking things like, maybe she's not that great. Like, okay, if you still love me and you see my flaws, maybe you're not as smart as I thought you were, or you're not that great. Slowly though, the more I tolerated, the more I forgave, the more understanding I became, this mindset, I believe, shifted to, well, maybe she is as great as I thought she was originally. And if someone as great as her loves me, then I must actually be super special. Why should I change? Like, she loves me this much exactly the way I am. I'm special the way I am. So why would I change? And this is why it's extremely dangerous to be with an insecure man. I hope you guys are listening. I hope you can hear me. You are dealing with someone who is conflicted, extremely conflicted emotionally and mentally. They're not seeing things, the mindset that they have, they're not seeing the world as it is. They're seeing the world and you through the eyes of their insecurity. The choices that they make are choices based on what will make them feel less insecure. This is also dangerous because this mindset is basically a big sign. It is inevitable, I think. I might be wrong, but I think it's inevitable that this mindset is what leads men to become physically violent with women in particular, because that's exactly what happened in my situation. And I believe why this mindset turns to arrogance and violence is because once they convince themselves that either you are not as smart as they thought you were, because you obviously are dumb for loving them despite like how terrible they treat you, or that you are as great as they thought you were, which means they are even better than you if you are as great as you are and you're willing to put up with their shit. This gives, I believe, this feeling of I am invincible. And they start to see you not as the person who loved them, but you are literally living, breathing proof of how superior they are. And living, breathing proof of the fact that they can do whatever they want and still have someone as amazing as you in their life. You basically become nothing but a mirror that they can project their self-hatred onto. They can control and they can demean, put you down if they ever feel like their superior point of view is getting threatened. If they ever feel like you're trying to insinuate they're not as great as they really are, now they take that negative feeling out on you because you're literally proof to them that they are great. So how dare you question their greatness? I struggled with this and understanding this. So I hope that kind of shined a little bit of light, at least on this. Like, why do insecure and DL men hate you for loving them? The main bottom line is something I had to come to understand myself, is that your love didn't change him. It didn't make him great, or it didn't make him arrogant. It honestly, your love just was a mirror that showed him how he really feels about himself. And instead of looking into that mirror and making adjustments and finding out a way to like what he sees in the mirror, instead He decides to try to distort what he sees in the mirror, which is you, tries to distort you and make you smaller and shut you up and control you and make you act accordingly until you show him the reflection in the mirror that he wants to see. So there are 3 things I want you to keep in mind with this information. Is 1, it is not about you being too good for him or being too dumb. Because I went back and forth between these two for a long time. Like, wow, yeah, I was too good for him. I'm glad I left his ass. And then going to I was so dumb. Like, was I really dumb, like, to be with him? Like, it's not even about any of that. What happens in this type of situation is, like, he's unable to be vulnerable or intimate without it being a power game. Someone has to be in control. Someone has to be less than the other person. And if it's not you, then it's him. And the second thing is, you did not cause that flip. Like I said, that arrogance, all of that was always in there because it comes with insecurity that is not faced. If someone's insecure and they're not willing to face it, naturally, when they're challenged, they're going to become defensive. They're going to become violent, possibly. This is what comes with insecurity. It's not something you did. And the third thing is recognizing this type of pattern can honestly save your life. I'm so glad I recognized it. My ex turned out to be violent. Thankfully, that was only for the last 8 months of the relationship. We were together for almost 4 years. If it wasn't for how well I had recognized the pattern by the point that when I left him, I probably would have been in that relationship longer, and who knows how much worse it would have gotten. And this is one of the main reasons I'm sharing this, and also one of the main reasons I am releasing my book. I fully understand now why it's actually dangerous and life-threatening for a woman to get into a relationship with a man who is insecure. Best case scenario, hopefully, if you have the boundaries and you have the self-worth yourself, you'll be able to pick up on the signs very quickly and just leave his ass. Worst case scenario, this man jumps into your head and plays freaking dodgeball with your brain for years. That's just my 2 cents, but I would definitely say stay away from insecure men. That is my motto. That's what I'm doing. Like, they can be your friends or whatever. Even then, they'll probably still try to get into your head and fuck you up. Boundaries are important, but 10 out of 10, I would not recommend getting into a romantic relationship or even dating or sleeping with a man who is obviously insecure. I know I said that I was going to answer the second question in this episode as well, but what I think I'm going to do, honestly, is I'm gonna do a part 2. I don't like editing long videos. Like, I can't imagine editing like an hour video, an hour long episode, because I've edited like a 40-minute long episode, and that was over an hour of footage, audio, whatever, that I had to cut down to get to 40 minutes. And I just don't want to do that again. So I'm going to stop this episode here. I'm going to end this one here. And in part 2, I am going to answer the question how it's possible for a DL man to feel like you are dumb or naive for being with him, yet at the same time, he feels superior because he's with you. If you're interested in learning more and finding some answers to that question, keep an eye out for part 2. I will most likely post it this week or this weekend. But until then, I hope that this episode really gives you something to think about. And I am looking forward to hearing your thoughts. So if you have anything you want to add, or if you have any questions about this specific topic, please feel free to leave it in the comment box. I love reading about your experiences, and I actually really appreciate when you guys ask questions in the comments, because the comments really do help me get ideas for videos. So please, please, please feel free to do that. And don't forget to give this video a like, and feel free to subscribe to my channel if you want to learn more about DL men, insecure men, toxic relationships, toxic families, toxic women, healing after toxic relationships. You know the vibe. Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation, like, a lot, and I hope you did too. I'm looking forward to speaking to you in part 2, and yeah, that's it. Okay, bye.